Hey, this is Eugene coming at you with a new video about backpacking gear. Check this out. A lot of people, when I invite them to go backpacking with me, ask me the question of what do I need to bring? And I've answered that question so many times that I've just decided, hey, I should make a video and just show you the stuff you should bring, give you some categories of things you must bring, give you some examples. You don't have to get the stuff that I have, but I will kind of try to explain it, and then there will be some links at the end, so make sure to check those out. Also, I wanted to thank all of you guys who have been watching my videos. I have now 3.5 million views on my channel, and I have, I think, 7,000 plus subscribers, and thanks to all of you guys, for sharing my videos and enjoying them, and leave me feedback, give me comments. I want to know what you guys are interested in. I am kind of busy with a lot of other stuff, so I don't get too much time to make that many videos as I would want to. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to talk about the basic must-have gear for an average backpacking trip. Of course, there's so many options depending on where you go backpacking, what time of year you go backpacking, and all that. But I'll just talk about the basics, and then I'll also talk about the clothing in a separate video, to which there will be a link at the end of this video, and also food, there will be a link. But I'll talk about the most basic gear here. So let's jump right in. Yeah, what gear? Everybody asks me what gear. So there are three most important things, or four, that you must have. You have to have a pack to carry all of your stuff in. Then you have to have a sleeping bag to sleep in. You have to have a shelter, be it a tent or a bivvy, something like that, space blanket. You also have to have some good shoes. And I think those things, if you have those are like gear that you will have to buy and pay for. And then you'll have to have the food and the right clothing and all of that. So let's kind of talk through those a little bit. So the packs. So there's a variety out there. They span anywhere from probably $30 up to like $350. Here's a couple examples. These are packs we've had for a long time and been using these for a while. This this company specifically is Osprey, but there's a lot of companies out there. So look for something. Here's what you must have on a pack. It's got to be large in terms of size. So you can see how big that is. This one here is 60 liters or 65 liters. So that's the size, of how much stuff you can fit in here. You'll need something about this big. This one here I have, this is an Osprey Ether, and this is a 70-liter bag. So it all depends, but you kind of have to have at least, I'd say at least 50 liters in terms of the volume of the bag. Then it has to be a good harness to support the bag on your body. You cannot just have a backpack that you take to school. It's just your shoulders are gonna get blisters on them. It's gonna hurt right here really bad. You have to have a waist belt. So when I'm talking about a waist belt is this. You have this big belt on the bottom of the pack that's going to go around your waist and secure that weight on your hips. And you can click some reviews. There will be links popping up of reviews of these items here, some of them. So you can click on the reviews and see, and I'll go into detail about what a pack is like. The thing it's got to have is it's got to have an internal frame. You can see this one has an aluminum frame. All that means is basically you can't bend this pack really easily. You see how it doesn't collapse like a school backpack that's empty, right? It keeps its shape, and that's important to have all your gear and have a nice flat surface against your back right there. So that's a big must. Then, I think outside of having just a nice belt and some good straps, it can be anywhere from $30 to $300, like I said, but it all depends on the quality of the gear that you want. Okay, so these are just some examples. This is again the Aether 70, a really nice pack, really sturdy. You can click on a review and watch that. Next thing is you're going to have a sleeping bag. So there's a couple options. Now a sleeping bag is going to run you anywhere from about $30, probably at the cheapest, for a good sleeping bag for what we need here. And they go all the way up to $300 probably too. But basically, a lot of them will have temperature ratings. And this one, for example, here is 40. So 40 degrees Fahrenheit. If it gets below that, you're going to start to get cold. And a lot of them will have. So this one here is just a type of bag. It's filled with goose feathers. You don't have to have that. You can have a cotton-filled bag, but you've got to have something that will keep you warm in the cold weather night. At night in the cold weather. So this one here is just it's a goose down filled bag. This is the REI Halo 40, a really nice bag. You can find them cheap on different sales and garage sales and such things. So you're going to have a sleeping bag. Most sleeping bags also you will have to have a pad underneath. This one specifically has feathers on the bottom, and I have this thermarest, which is basically just a big pad that you open up and that goes right under your bag. Okay. Now there's so many options for this. Also, you can have it's like one of those yoga pads or whatever you call them. People buy, or basically they're little kind of foam pads that go under your bag, or people make them out of cardboard, like really thick cardboard. You want something to separate your body from the floor, or from the ground, and give you some airspace there so that you don't get cold. So you'll have to have some kind of, basically that's your sleeping system, okay? Your bag and then something to go on. The other options, that's a down-filled bag. There are also bags that are filled with synthetic materials, like this one here. This is a Big Agnes sleeping bag. It's filled with, it's not down, so it's not a squishy. And basically the cheaper they get, the heavier they're going to be, and the more volume they'll take. More expensive bags will be really warm, but you'll be able to pack them down into something really small, and they'll be really light. Okay, so this one's a little bit heavier, but this is a plus 40, or I'm sorry, a 15-degree bag. So it'll keep you warm down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is below freezing. And this, just a different setup, but you'll have to have a bag and a pad to go under it. Okay. The next thing is a shelter, and you'll have to have something to basically keep the wind out, keep the rain and the snow out if it happens. Those are important. You want to stay dry. So for shelters, there's a couple options. You can have a tent. So, well, the one we've been using for a very long time now, and there's a review of this, is the REI Passage 2. It's a relatively cheap tent. It looks like that. You can click on the video here on the link to check it out. Basically, you want a shelter. Now, this is something you can share with some friends if you're coming along. You can have 3 or 4 people in the tent. You can have 2 people in the tent, or you can have a 1-person tent. This tent here is a Big Agnes tent, and basically, it fits more people and it's lighter. And there's all sorts of options, but a tent will run you anywhere from, I don't know, depends. You can get a really cheap tent, probably like $40, all the way up to, again, like $400. It depends on what you want. But, go for something cheap for now, or unless you're really committed to this, you can go for a higher price. And you can rent stuff always too, and check that out. The other option for shelter is having a tarp. So this is it's called a AquaQuest tarp, and you can go to a link and check that out. There's a review of this thing. You can make a really good shelter just out of a tarp. There are a lot of tarps. You can just get one of those blue tarps. I mean, it's really cheap, and make a shelter out of that. It's going to be really heavy, and it's not going to keep you out of, it's going to get really windy and rain will be under an angle. You could still get wet, so it's not the best option. I would suggest at this point, best thing would be just get a tent, maybe get a really cheap one, and you'll kind of see why you will need a more expensive one as time goes on, because a cheap tent will usually start to rip really quick, it'll start leaking, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I see why I need a better tent. So you just get something. So yeah, that'll be probably about $20-30 at the lowest end, unless you can find something at a Goodwill or garage sale that's really cheap. So that's 3 big things. So that's a pack, your sleeping bag, your sleeping system, and then your shelter. The 4th very important thing is footwear. Okay, so there's a lot of options. It goes anywhere from a leather, waterproof, really strong sole boot, all the way down to a shoe. Now, and there's a bunch of things that go in between. So you can have, this is probably like the top of the, closer to the top of the line, a full leather boot that's waterproof, and it's very hard, so you can't really bend it really well. That's good, because you're going to have a lot of weight on you. You're going to be carrying about 40 pounds on your back, and you want your ankles to be protected. You're going to hit rocks, and you don't want your ankle to roll, because if you step on a rock, you don't want to get a sprained ankle. That is a really bad thing. So you want ankle protection, and that's one option. So then you can go down. This is still really good. It's a little bit more, well, this is still a pretty hard boot, but it's not fully leather, you know, but this has some good stuff on here. This is also a very, very good boot. Another option, this is a lighter weight boot, more like a shoe now, but still has ankle protection, still has lacing going on all the way up there. Next, this is more like a sneaker now. Doesn't all the way go up all the way to your ankle. Your ankle will be here, but this is also really good. Or you can bring some shoes. This is a really bad idea though. If it starts to rain, it gets wet, your feet will be soaked in an instant. You're going to get water right through there. So you want to have something that's at least water resistant, preferably waterproof if you can. So look for something like that. You don't want something really big and that doesn't fit well. The other very important thing is to break your shoes in. So you want to wear these, if you get new boots, wear them around town for at least a day. You know, take them off, wear them a week later, wear them a day later. Make sure that they form to your feet. Because if you get new boots and you put them on and you go, you're going to get blisters, and it's going to be very, very uncomfortable. Unless they're very, very squishy shoes like this, but these are not good for backpacking. You can hurt yourself, and they're just not very good in terms of waterproofness and all that type of stuff. So the next thing you're going to have is something to eat with. Okay. Now, you know, you could find food in the wilderness and just eat it with your hands, but that's going to be a tough one. Yeah, I'm going to feel it for you. You want to have a good cooking set. You know, usually where we go, you can't always have a fire. So we'll usually share stoves with a couple people or whatnot, but you basically want to have a spoon. Okay, you got to have a spoon, must. You want to have a cup, a good insulated cup or just a metal cup like this. There's many options. You can have a nice big cup like this. It's almost a pot. You can put it in the fire if you need to. Then you need to have a bowl. You could technically use your cup as a bowl. You can make soup in here, eat the soup, wash it out, rinse it out, and then make tea in here, you know, if you want to do that. Some people don't want to. I usually have a separate thing for my food or for my soup and a separate thing for my drink. So spoon, that type of thing, you got to have that. And then the other thing is, if you're going to cook food, so you know you're going to boil some noodles or whatnot, you're going to have either a pot or you can have a bigger pot. So this is another option. This is something that we took out on the West Coast Trail. You click video here for West Coast Trail, by the way. That is an absolute awesome video. But we used this thing here for that trip, and we cooked so much food in here. And the cool thing is, you know, it's aluminum, which is probably not the best thing for your health, but you can suspend it on a piece of paracord over a fire, and you can boil water in there. You can cook food. By the way, paracord, it would be very good for you to buy a thing of paracord. I mean, this stuff is useful in so many ways, in so many areas of your life. You just have to have one. It absolutely must. I mean, you should get that. It's like $7 for like 100 feet, and you can cut pieces of it off for different things. The next thing is a stove. Now, you must not necessarily have a stove. You know, you could share it with somebody, but you got to make sure that, you know, there's enough stoves in the group. And there's a couple different options. So one we have here, this is a pop can made, cheapest version. You make it yourself at home. There's a video out there on the internet, on YouTube, how to make it. This will cost you about $1 to make. And this is some denatured alcohol that you can buy at the store, super cheap. Pour it in there, you can cook your food. I mean, this is like the cheapest option. I wouldn't recommend for you to start with this. You know, once you kind of figure out how that works, then you might want to, you know, figure out how other stoves work and then go to that once you get kind of advanced. But I wouldn't necessarily jump to that and think that you're going to be able to cook all your food on that first time. It'll take some experience. Other options are a stove like this. Now this is a little bit more expensive, but you could find this on a garage sale or on Craigslist, eBay, something like that. This is a Whisper Light. Another option is a jet boil. This here, I have a review of this thing. Check it out. This is my favorite so far. I mean, there's different situations where different stoves work better, but this one is just an overall, works kind of everywhere, really good stove. And it incorporates a lot of things into itself. So go to the review and check it out. This thing, you know, you can get it probably for $40. I wouldn't say, you know, go buy this right now if you're going to go backpacking for your first time. So, but you want to have some kind of way to heat your food. So make sure in your group there's somebody who has a stove. And a pot. So you're going to also have to have something to purify your water with. There's a couple options. You know, if you have a pot, you can just boil the water in there. But the problem with that is, you know, if you're going along for the whole day, it's hot, you're thirsty, you can't just stop, make a fire, boil water, and start drinking it. You know, you're going to have to boil a bunch of water beforehand, put it into your bottles, and make sure you have it later. So there's a couple options. You can have, cheapest option is to buy some of these tablets. You can just throw them in your water, and it will kill all the bacteria and viruses in there. You know, but it's not going to taste really well. There are some options where you can use a couple tablets and it'll make your water taste okay. That's one option. The other option, of course, is to boil. The third option is a filter. Now, this is one option in terms of filters. There's a bunch of different filters out there, but just, I would say, if you're going to be backpacking, I would get a filter. Just even if there's going to be somebody else that will have one, you're going to need it later, sooner or later, if you're going to be doing this enough times. And I just kind of went with this one. You can check a review of this out. This is an awesome filter. It's kind of expensive, but there's a bunch of options out there. You want to have a way to purify your water. That's important because you have to drink. And you can live without food, but you can't live without water for very long. Another very important piece is to have a bottle. Now, if you're going to come back, you're going to go backpacking, you've got to bring a bottle. Okay? There's a huge range. I would say if you're going to come, just bring either a good Nalgene bottle or just one of these good, you know, sports bottles. Another option is always just to bring a water bottle like this. Super cheap, but it'll work. I would say if you can get a liter good bottle like this, that's hard. You don't have to get a Nalgene. You know, this is probably like $9. You can get something a little bit cheaper. It's probably going to cost about the same. You can find it at Goodwill for like $2. But this is just, the reason it's really good is it's super hard. You can throw this thing down the mountain and go pick it up later. It'll be fine. No holes. You can fill it up really easily with your filter or whatever. Get the water purified in there. You can put it in your pack. You can put it in your side pocket in your pack or something. You can always have some water to drink there. So a bottle is good. Any one of these options is good, but you got to have a bottle. The other thing is good to have is a knife. We always bring this knife with us. I usually carry this thing, and you know, it's just a fixed blade. I don't even know what it is. It's super Mayerco, something like that. I mean, this is a cheap knife, but it works. We've split many logs with this. You know, batoning. You can carve things. You can make little poles for something to hook something onto. You know, just multiple uses for a knife. You've got to have a knife most places, or you can just have a little pocket knife. You know, something like this. This is not as practical in the outdoors, though. You can't really split a log with this. You can definitely split a log with this. Or, you know, if you can bring a Leatherman, like a multi-tool, something like that, that's also very good. But bring some kind of knife, at least a little pocket knife, or maybe a fixed blade. Don't bring a blade this big. Totally useless. I mean, you can have fun with it. It's just super heavy, but it's not really practical. I mean, you could use it, but if you're going to go to that size, you might as well just bring an axe. You know, that way you can at least chop trees down a lot more efficiently. A hatchet, you know, always not a bad idea. Depends on if you're going to an area where you can harvest wood to burn. Just kind of know what we're doing. So there we go. That's important to have. The other thing you may want to include in your kit is some kind of first aid kit. Usually when we go with a group, I bring a big first aid kit for everybody. You know, this thing includes a huge amount of things in it. It's super compact. But you want to bring some Band-Aids and maybe some, you know, anti-diarrheal pills and some pills, pain pills for, you know, Tylenol, something like that. Just a couple things to, you know, keep you healthy. Get some antibiotic equipment, and triangular bandage would be a very good thing to bring. By the way, another very good thing to bring would be a bandana. I would say, or a cotton square, you know, something about this big that's a cotton piece of cloth. You can use that thing for so many different things. A bandana is just throw it in there. You can use a handkerchief. You can tie a wound with it. You can use it as a washcloth. You can use it as a scarf. You can put on your neck to keep from getting a sunburn. Just a good thing to have, and super cheap. I mean, you can cut one out of your mom's drapes or something. No, don't do that. Take your sheet, you know, take your pillowcase off. That'll be good. You can always use that. Anyway, something like that. The other thing you should have would be good is a flashlight or a headlamp. I've found that I absolutely love a headlamp for this type of thing. It works way better than a flashlight in my opinion. It's very small, very compactable, and you can check a review out of the one that I have. This is my brother's. But what's really cool about this is it just goes on your head. You can turn it on. There's multiple options. The headlamps nowadays and just have so many different options incorporated into them. You can cook your food. You can go, do whatever you need to do at night. You got the light on your head. You can be in your tent, get your stuff organized when it's dark. It just works so well. Okay, so I'd say a headlamp would be good. It's kind of expensive again. You can get some cheap headlamps, maybe $10, but you can always have a flashlight. That's even cheaper. You can find one at home. A $2 flashlight, something that'll make some light, so you can get around camp at night. You'll need that. You want to also bring a couple things that you just should always have when you're outside by yourself or in a group away from home. A lighter or some kind of fire starting tool. Could be a ferrocerium rod, one of those spark striker things, a lighter, something like that. You want to have a compass, mentioned that in the clothing video. You want to have a space blanket, not absolutely in our case because we'll have a bunch of other stuff like tents and stuff with us, but I'd say also a little roll of duct tape or Gorilla Tape, super useful for many things. So in the survival category, I would say fire, paracord, tape, and a compass. I think those would be the 4 kind of must-have, besides everything else we've been talking about. And the knife, like I've mentioned, that's a really good thing to have. So there we go. That's for kind of the survival, absolute must-haves in your pack as well. So the other thing is, I would say, you're going to have to, of course, bring your food and clothes. And go ahead and click on these next videos here. If you want, we'll click on this one. If you want to watch about clothes, click down here if you want to watch a video about food. And click on me if you want to subscribe to my channel. Comment below and ask me questions. And I'm sorry if I kind of rambled on a little bit. Just to comment again, there's just so much stuff to cover in these types of videos. I kind of try to keep it short, but there's just so much more information that's out there. So if you have questions that come up, just leave it in the comments. I'll try to answer it, or I'll try to refer you to another video. And I hope that answers some of your questions. And I hope to be out there in the woods, out in the mountains with you guys someday. And maybe I'll see you out there soon.